Ahoy there and welcome back to Build with the Boys. We now have issue 74 of Hachette's Build the Titanic. And in this one, it's kind of more of the same. But we are installing the first class lounge to the promenade deck. Windows. Now, this is the scheme from the last set of windows. All gone, so we used all of them. So there's no real, we don't have to hold on to windows for another issue. You're going to get all the windows you need in this one. Slightly less. It was 48 windows in the last one. It's 32 windows in this one. But windows of differing size and shape. So that's something to be aware of. So we have 3 different types of large windows and 2 different types of small window. So it's going to get a little confusing. So we've got to do that. We all then have the support structure as well that's going to go in. It's not going to look like anything yet. So where it is at the moment, it just looks like, yeah, okay, that's weird looking. But when the boat deck goes on top of it, that's going to seal and it's going to create what's essentially a walkway, because that will make the ceiling for it. We have another LED strip to install. So let's get this one open and we'll have a look at it. If you are going to stick around for our Titanic story at the end, I'll give you a trigger warning early doors, right? This is a terrible story at the end of this one. And it's one I've avoided doing up to this point, but trigger warning, okay? It's an upsetting one, so it's up to you if you stick around for it or not, but it's quite a harrowing story. It's just a bit of forewarning for you. But let's get this one open and let's get this one built. Okay, so let's see what we get with issue 74. Okay, there is our first class lounge. Very nice shape to this. There's a nice curve there. It's nice. So that's that one. What else do we have? That will be the windows. So let's get those ones open. Let's have a look what our windows are. Because we've got multiple windows in this one. So it's going to be confusing as to which window goes where. I think that might be the case. No, that's the support structure. So that's the support structure there. So that isn't the windows. It shows what I know. All right. There we go. So there's one set of windows, but there are different windows on that. As you can see, there's this massive window up here, and these are unusual. Okay. So we need to be aware of that. So that won't be overly confusing because they're very different shaped. We have another LED strip. This thing's going to look so good when it's lit up, isn't it? I think we're all sort of seeing that glow now and getting excited about the wire, which we won't be using yet, but hold on to it because we're going to need it. And our screws. So let's get this one built. Okay, so the first thing it's asking us to do is to install 10 of the small windows. Now, having your first class lounge around this way, make sure you're not this way up. Make sure you're this way up. Now, I'm trying to see there's a towel just to make sure, there you go. Make sure that's facing that way upwards, then you're good. Right, so we're going to start on this side and we're going to put 10 windows in here over these bays, and then we're going to stop when we get to here. So let's get those little ones put in. So that's the first 10. Nice and simple. Now, you'd think we're going here. We're not. We're going to flip round. And we're going to repeat that exact same process with 10 more windows here. Okay, so this is the other side done. So we have this side done, and we have this side done. We're now going to move on to these larger windows here. Okay, so we have 2 large windows installed there. Now, there is a curvature to this one, as you can see, but mine fits. So what you need to do is slightly dry fit it, put some pressure on it so it bends to the frame, so it fits in flush, because it won't fit in flat. You are going to need to put some curvature to it. But that's those ones done. Let's move on to the next large windows. So it's the next 2 large windows put in here and here. Nicely fit, looking lovely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spin this one round. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 arch windows to go in, and those are these ones that are left there. So we get those done, then we can install this to the deck. Okay, there's our arch windows in. Those went in an absolute dream. Those were very, very easy to install. And they look lovely. Look really nice. So we're going to bring the prom deck up and we're going to install this to it. Okay, so this is the section we did last. This is where we're going next. So taking our completed first class lounge. Again, it's malleable as hell at this point. So it's you can see we've got plenty of room to wiggle and move and whatnot. We're going to attach it to each of these pins here to hold it in place. And then we're going to attach this with screws. So don't be alarmed if you're like, oh, it's not sitting flush. It will. You're going to screw it in place. And you've got these slots here as well that's going to sit into. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to screw this in place using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 screws. 12 screws to hold this in place. Going to get that done. We'll take a look. Okay, so that's installed. That's looking lovely. Look at that. See, it's looking nice now, right? See all of these windows. Imagine these lit up. Imagine how beautiful that's going to look. So that's all screwed in, secured down, looking lovely. We're going to flip this one over and we've got an LED strip to put in. Okay, so this is the section we're working on next to the staircase over here. Nice and simple because, again, there's a notch in there. It's only going to go in one way. So let's get this one in. Now, these are a lot easier to install. I should just curse myself by saying that, than the ones on the boat deck. Plus in. That's it. So we do have, again, we've got the wire. Don't need it yet. We'll be doing that later. Now, if you're following the instructions, you'll be going on, you've missed a bit, Scott. No, I haven't. I'd advise doing this first before putting the piece on for the support part. So you don't have to turn it over. I mean, I'm doing this way for the sake of the video. You could turn yours over completely. But if you do that and you put the support structure on, you risk breaking the support structure, like the problem we had with the davits. They got us to install the davits and started asking us to repeatedly flip the deck. We should have done the davits last. So I've done this way to avoid snapping that thing off. We're now going to turn it back over, put the support structure in. Okay, so working on these 3 holes here, you can see, again, use this pattern as you guide where you're going. We have our support structure. Now, I need to make sure this goes in the right way around, because there isn't a case of having different size legs, because there's a longer one than is the other. Let's make sure this goes in the right way. Right, so it's that way round. So the short section, that way round. If this goes without glue, I won't glue, but I think this looks like it's going to need glue. That's how it will go. I'm going to glue mine in and then we'll take a look. So there we are, that's all glued in, that's going nowhere. And again, once you've got a boat deck on top of here, it's basically going to create this tunnel. It's going to look lovely. It's going to look absolutely beautiful. These windows along here now, it's going to, come on, this is going to look stunning, stunning, stunning when it's all lit up. And she's ready to sail. Let's have a chat. So that's that one complete. It's looking nice now. I mean, now we can sort of see where we're going with this and it's looking beautiful. Again, glue, dealer's choice. It's up to you. If you want to use the glue, use the glue. If you don't want to use the glue, don't use the glue. But it's looking lovely. It is very window, but you know, it's what it is. We got to do it. Now, with regards to glass, I know a lot of you have been saying, are you adding glass or are you not adding glass? No, I'm not adding glass. And again, the reason why is I know it's that strange thing of authenticity versus aesthetically pleasing. My concern to adding glass is glare. So I think this thing, having seen the lights of the boat deck light up, I think it looks gorgeous. I think if you start adding glass, you're either going to dull the light or you're going to create glare that you don't want. Not necessarily for everyone, but it is your choice. It's your model. It's your choice. So there is no right or wrong here. You do what you want to do. So you want to add glass to it, add glass. If you don't add glass, don't add glass. But there is no right or wrong. There really isn't. That's all for the build instructions. So if you're just sticking around for the build instructions, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. Helps the channel massively and we appreciate your help. You can contact us at Build with the Boys. If you are sticking around for our Titanic talk, this is your last warning. This is a horrible story. It's not comfortable listening. It's not. And we will be talking about the unknown child. It's harsh. I'm going to try not to get upset during this one because it is quite. I don't know. There is some beauty in this, but typically it's a fairly horrible story. But this is the grave of the unknown child. So the story of this is for nearly 100 years, no one knew who this child was. He was found by the McKay Bennetts. The CS McKay Bennett had been recovering bodies from near the site of Titanic sinking, and they recovered what at the time was believed to be aged between 1 and 2 year old male toddler from the water. Clifford Crease was the name of the sailor that recovered him, and it affected them badly, as it would. I mean, that's got to be an absolutely terrible thing to see. And he was destined, sadly, for a pauper's grave with no identification. That's where he was going to go, into a pauper's grave. But the men, so I'm already getting upset, the men that recovered his body were massively moved by what had happened, and they'd also recovered the body of Jacob Astor. As a result of that, Vincent Astor had rewarded the men with a cash payment for recovering the body of his brother. They used their money to give the unknown child a proper funeral. They paid for a small white coffin, they paid for a grave, and they paid for a large headstone to be erected. They also paid for a small suit for the child. And this is the part that upsets me. They also put a pendant inside there. They put a bronze pendant inside there that read simply, "Our babe," because no one knew who he was. So they attended his funeral, and God bless those men for doing that, because what a beautiful thing. But yeah, "Our babe" is what they put in there. I'm getting upset. And no one knew who he was. So any attempt to find who his family were had been futile until 2002, when a PBS documentary used fairly primitive DNA testing on 3 teeth and a scrap of bone to identify who he was. And they came up with that his name was Eno Panula, and he was a Finnish 2-year-old that had been on board the Titanic that had not been found up to that point. They were wrong. So it wasn't Eno Panula. That's not who he was. Again, I think part of it was the documentary wants an ending, and that's it. Hey, so they located kind of familial testing back to a lady that lived in Finland, and put 2 and 2 together and got 5, and Panula was what his name does. But that wasn't his name. In 2007, nearly 100 years after the tragedy, extensive DNA testing was done, and they were able to identify that the unknown child was this child. So that's Sidney Leslie Goodwin, and he was the youngest child of Frederick and Augusta Goodwin. He also had 5 older siblings, and these are the Goodwins. So all 6 children and Frederick and Augusta Goodwin were on the Titanic, and they were heading for a new life where Frederick's brother Thomas already settled in Niagara. They were heading over there, and they booked 3rd-class passage. The entire family was lost. So none of them made it to a lifeboat. None of them were saved, the entire family. So all 6 children, the mother and the father of the Goodwins, all of them died on Titanic. I'm pleased to say that at the unknown child's headstone now, it does read Stanley Leslie Goodwin. So they now know who he is, and it's on there. And what a tragic, horrible story. But the mystery of the unknown child is solved. So if you've ever heard of the unknown child, he is no longer the unknown child. He is Sidney Leslie Goodwin. And I think what those sailors did for him, they didn't have to do that. They did not have to do that. They didn't. They could have just taken their money, But to do that, to give him some warmth, to give him some human kindness, and "Our babe," I think it's so sweet. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. But as I said, it's a horrible story. The entire family were lost to the Titanic, and this is again the tragedy of it. The entire families were gone, and this one did. I think there's some comfort in knowing that they were all together. Not much, but there is comfort there that, there wasn't a father who lost the entire family, or the mother was the only one that survived, and there is some comfort there that they will remain together. But what a horrible story. What a horrible story. But at the same time, there is some beauty in what those men did for little Stanley. He was only 18 months old, and he sadly has the record of being the youngest recovered survivor of the Titanic. Recovered body of the Titanic. He is the youngest recovered victim of the Titanic, and it's yeah, it's it just brings to light that, you know, the true tragedy, the true weight, the brevity of what actually happened that night. It's horrible. It's just horrible. But that, and I did warn you, is the very sad story of the unknown child, Sydney Leslie Goodwin. May he rest in peace. Sorry to bum you out, but I put off telling that story for the longest time possible because it's just sad. It's just horrible. But I think his story deserves to be told. He deserves to be remembered. It deserves to be told. It deserves to be known rather than just constantly be known as the unknown child. He had a name. He had a name, and his name was Stanley Leslie Goodwin. So he doesn't need to be the unknown child anymore. And I think again, it does show the humanity in what those sailors did. So it's a story that has to be told, and now we've told it. That's all for this one. We will be back very soon with issue 75 of Hachette's Build the Titanic, where we will be adding, I believe, the last part of Superstructure to the Promenade deck. There's going to be more windows. There just is, but that's the way it is. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And you can contact us at buildingtheboys@outlook.com. We'll see you very soon for issue 75. I'll catch you then.